So, welcome Gary and Sheila.
Thank you, Margaret.
You're welcome. We're hoping to help raise awareness about dementia, the signs to look out for, how situation to yourselves. So, can you tell us what were the first signs you noticed changes in Sheila?
It was a mixed bag, to be honest. Sheila had had a few falls about 1 or 2 weeks before then, and I was just noticing she was quite delirious. So she wouldn't walk across the blue tiled floor in the bathroom thinking it was wet. It took a lot for me to convince her that she could walk over there. But she was on her hands and knees on the carpet trying to pick up pins that she could see. Nothing I could say to her would stop her from doing these things. She was just intent on doing it. She was having night terrors, she was having hallucinations. She was just generally totally unmanageable. So we took her to the GP practice and they thought she maybe had a water infection. Wasn't the case, all clear. So gradually, bit by bit, we just started digging deeper and deeper, and then somebody suggested, well, maybe she has dementia. And it was purely by chance, really quite by elimination, that we finally got down to that level. You say, right, let's look at dementia. And that's where it all started. But it took a good 3 weeks before we got to that stage.
Okay.
And I had to ring to trying to get the appointment.
Right, so the diagnosis process itself, what was that like for you?
Non-existent.
Okay.
Absolutely awful. My GP, or our GP, referred to the memory clinic, which is at Lesbury. A month went by, didn't hear anything. So I rang our GP and said, look, we've heard nothing. She contacted them, and about 2 weeks after that, so a total of 6 weeks, we finally got a phone call saying that a community psychiatric nurse was going to visit. He came along. It was a box ticking exercise. What came out of it was what everybody knows: short-term memory no good, long-term memory, yes, you can remember, but you get that with people as they get older anyway. So it didn't tell us a lot, to be honest with you. So we waited another month after that. He'd filled in all of his forms. He left, and we had a phone call a month later to say that a consultant was coming to visit us to see if prescription drugs would be of any benefit. And we got 2 prescription drugs. He said that Sheila had a dementia with Lewy body, and she also had what's called old age dementia as well, which people get from having a stroke, heart attacks, things like this. So that was a diagnosis. So he diagnosed 2 drugs, donepezil, which helps to improve people's ability to think, to react, to interact with people. And she got melatonin, 2 milligrams, which is a drug which is a natural sleep hormone. And both of those, we both agree, we're discussing it this morning, they really have helped, we think. Yeah, so that has been a big benefit. But we waited, it must have been over 2 months before we actually finally got a prescription, just for the waiting in between. There was no connection. And when we finally got the prescriptions, a month later, I had to ring them again because the repeat prescriptions weren't coming through. They'd sent them to someone else. So the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing. And I think the key thing of all of this is when I was still trying to come to terms with the situation that I had with trying to look after Sheila, not thinking, you know, in a profession that I work in the NHS, that this doesn't sound right at all. And yet there was no one who I could go to and speak to them and say, look, can you give me some support here? What on earth is going on here? And I had to find it out myself, to be honest.
Okay, so do you have support in place now? And if so, how did you actually find that support?
We've got, life has become easier. As you'll both know, life never gets easy with dementia as a carer, but it has become easier to manage, let's put it that way. My own health to one side, you know. But I think essentially what has changed is we have joined the group here at Cramlington. We joined Elderberries in Alnwick Gardens. And we have also, we have now Sheila, who sits with Sheila for 2 hours a week. And we also have a lady called Christine, who is an enabler. she's a nurse, but she's retired, and she sits with Sheila for 2 to 4 hours every week, which gives me time to have a break, to get away, to go from a treatment at the Freeman, things like this. That's what's changed. I think the key thing is when you first hear that you have, your loved one has dementia or Alzheimer's, you don't really know. As a medic, I understand it, but when it happens to you, you just feel very isolated and very alone. And there's essentially go out and seek help myself. I had to ring my GP. And I could tell she didn't have a great deal of knowledge about it either. And it was only through lots of phone calls, talking to people, finding out about Carers Northumberland, the Alzheimer's Society, that I started to speak to people who knew a little bit. One call was another good source, but that information isn't given to you. You have to find it yourself. And I'm trying to look after myself, and more especially trying to look after Sheila, is hard enough without having to spend literally hours and hours either searching online, picking up the phone, speaking to people. Now I would do it completely differently, but that's how hard it is. And I see people in there, no names mentioned obviously, but I see people, wives looking after their husbands who they can't control because they are awake at night when most people are asleep. They are doing things, they just can't understand hygiene, mentally very challenging. That is so difficult. And I really feel for them. And when I speak to them, I think there is just no support for us there, and you have to do it yourself. And this is so wrong, really wrong. And I really feel strongly about this. If it wouldn't have been for me picking up the baton, we'd still be in a very difficult situation, but it has got easier. And I think, as we discussed in the car this morning, joining Elderberries, but especially joining this group, has made a massive change for us. Because you're with people who are in the same situation as you to a greater or lesser degree, and we understand each other, we understand what we're going through, and just sharing information when we go into the separate room here after lunch for an hour is priceless. Mike, who just joined the group, he said, I've never had anything like that before, and his wife has had Alzheimer's for 8 years. So you can imagine, just joining a group like that may seem trivial, but to all of us, it's absolutely the most important thing.
Fantastic.
It's as important as the medications which Sheila was given.
Right, thank you. So Sheila, I'm going to ask you, how do you feel your everyday life is for you?
Now?
Yes.
Well, I've never felt I've got an illness. Never felt that. But unfortunately, certainly earlier on, before I got any of these medications, I did some stupid things. I feel I've got a lot more confidence now. As you lot said here, open my mouth and say all sorts of things. And sometimes they might be funny, but sometimes they might be corrective. But I'm not frightened to say anything.
And that's good, yes.
You often say at the end of the day, you've been a right one today, haven't you? You know that yourselves. I don't feel I'm ill. All right, maybe I am, but I don't feel I am. And certainly with having someone like Gary, I wouldn't be without him.
No,
Pleased about that.
Eh?
I'm pleased about that.
So Gary,
I wouldn't.
I'm going to ask you the same thing then. What's everyday life for you now?
It's definitely better because there's now help, and I know where to get it. And if things get really bad, I know who to speak to and where to go. It is, I think dementia is one of these things that you know bit by bit it's going to get worse. So I think I've learned to accept that things will never be as they were before, and I think that's one of the biggest problems with carers who are looking after somebody with dementia or Alzheimer's, is trying to accept life as it now is, and it is completely different and it is more challenging. But if you can find opportunities to, like coming here, going to elderberries, just taking time out for yourself, just to have a break, it's very important. And not to feel guilty because you think maybe you're letting your partner down.
Oh, no.
No, just let me finish. And I hear that quite a bit in our group, that they feel very guilty. And I do sometimes too, but I'm managing it a lot better now. But it shouldn't have taken this long. It's now almost 2 years since Sheila was diagnosed. And 2 years is a long time as a carer. And some of the people in the other room next door to us, 2 years for them is a lifetime. It really is. And it's just so wrong that I'll be a bit political here, that there is such a great deal of lack of funding and thought by all of these governments we've had previously. Eventually I think we will get the care that we need, but at the moment the money isn't there. The money goes to cancer, the money goes to children's illnesses, and you can understand it, but not so much to dementia and Alzheimer's, because essentially they are a more elderly population, so which is so wrong, I think. So, but I'm coping a lot better now.
Good.
Yeah.
So, throughout the whole process, what do you think has been the biggest help to you?
The biggest help?
Groups.
Yeah, I think the highlight of our week is coming here. Elderberries as well, but coming here has made a massive amount of difference. I think both of us said that we don't have the isolation that we had before. That has made a massive difference to us. And I think talking to people who understand what you're going through, and you sometimes realise that some people are actually worse off than you. So,
I mean, if you don't know a sort, but after today you will realise what great friends we all are. And you soon know if anybody isn't feeling so well, if anybody well, I'll not mention names, but if you know they've had a difficult week with their partner, you can just say, oh, shame. And I know you feel for them. And I think, well, just feeling for people like these, I mean, Gary knows, and he tries to manage it up, but Annick is one person I like to sit next to. And if I do sit next to him, and it's not because he's male or anything, it's just I like the person. And I think, as you get to know these people more and more, you realise what good friends they are. And everybody needs friends.
Absolutely, thank you. So Gary, have you anything else that you would like to add?
I just think, just looking at our group, we've been here for it must be a year now, getting on for. I think the one thing that bothers me most of all is the future, like most people say that as well, because it's an unknown quantity. But I feel in our group, and like I hear it from other people outside the group as well, that a lot of people who are carers have a lot of tiredness, physical and mental tiredness for having to look after a loved one, and it's very intense, and it's not going to get any better. And I think the key thing is, apart from joining groups like this, having people who come and can sit with Sheila so I can get away and have some respite. It's not being frightened to admit that you're finding it difficult to cope. And if you're finding it difficult to cope, you need to seek help. And you should not be frightened to ring your GP and say, look, I'm really struggling here, I need some help. But a lot of people, I think, including in our group, would be very, very reticent to go down that route. And I've been having a chat with them saying, that's something you need to consider. But it's also the guilt factor. Don't feel guilty if you don't have the energy. You need to look after yourselves. If we as carers don't look after ourselves and we get ill, who's going to look after our loved ones? Ultimately, most of our loved ones will end up in full-time care. We know that that's the progression of the illness, but in the interim, I think as carers we need to make sure that we look after ourselves, mentally and physically. And there's one final thought I want to share with everyone out there. Money may be an issue for some people, I understand that, but we are going up to Budle Bay, which is near Bamburgh in Northumberland, and we're going a week after next for a week. And we've hired a cottage for a week. Family is joining us, and they will cook, and they will wash up, and they will drive some of the time. It gives me a break to relax, and Sheila as well. Then they disappear for 3 days. They come back at the end of the week to help pack up, clean everything up, put all the food away, and off we go. And I'm sure that every single person in that room must have friends or family who could go away with them. It needs only be half an hour away, just to somewhere which is away from the house, just to get a break like that. And to me, we've done it 3 times now, and that has made a tremendous amount of difference.
They've enjoyed it,
yeah.
But they enjoy it.
They do as well, because they're supporting, and that's what family and friends are for. And that's one of the key things, is having that backup there. And that week away, I'm really looking forward to it, and it's so important to do that. And I would say that to not just the people next door, but everyone who's a carer looking after their loved ones, that is something you really do need to look at.
But he calls us his loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't call us the people he's having to look after.
No.
This is the difference.
Absolutely. That is amazing. Thank you so much.
Hi, Carol. Can you tell me what the first signs were when you noticed changes in your mum?
I didn't know it was anything important. I thought it was old age, but Mum forgot how to wash up, and you did. You forgot how to wash up. I used to go every Thursday, and I noticed that the dishes I needed to clean the whole surface and the bowls, and so I knew. And I had to do her washing then, and she'd forgotten how to use the washing machine too, which I know she was, you were about 89, but she still was going into schools and helping then. Mm-hmm. She was helping a teacher called Kate, and she was very capable. She was cooking Sunday dinner for some relatives, but just these 2 little things. And then I also noticed a pile of books at the side of where she sat, and every one of them had a little marker in. I didn't see the significance. I now realise that she was forgetting what she'd read, and just you read one book and read another and read another. Mum, you never finished a book. But I didn't know at the time. Don't realise it.
That's lovely.
Just little things. That was the start. Now there was a big incident. Well, I say big. Kate, who Mum worked for at school, she phoned me and was very concerned because Mum had come in an hour early, and then she got confused, and she thought that the head, who had retired 15 years ago, was still head, and that sent alarm. That was what sent alarm bells. And then she had antibiotics, and she'd taken them in 3 days. So that's when I got in touch with the doctor.
I don't know anything about this.
No, Mum wouldn't remember.
You're going to learn today. So, now that you've noticed this, what was the actual diagnosis process like for you?
So I made an appointment to see the doctor. My daughter actually helped. I chatted with her first. She's very, it's good to chat with somebody. I didn't know what to do myself. My Mary is very knowing, she thought it might be dementia. So we made an appointment with the doctor, and the doctor did a memory test, that appointment. And then we got an appointment through, we got a note through from the doctor to say she was referring her to a memory clinic. And eventually she got an appointment at the memory clinic. She was diagnosed with dementia, but that the memory clinic. I think she was supposed to see a nurse, but she'd moved house to me then, and so we were out of the area. So, but that was it. That was all that happened. No help, just diagnosis of dementia.
I don't know anything about this.
Well, you came up to me because it was COVID then, so it was locked down. Now I looked things up, and we did jigsaws. I did jigsaws to keep Mum going. We went for a walk around the block every day to keep Mum physically going. She did Sudoku. We got her papers. She did Sudoku. Crosswords. Mum likes crosswords then. So I did, what I could to keep Mum, her physical and mental well-being as far as I was able. I wasn't, well, of course it was locked down, so there was nothing much else going on anyway.
So can I just ask, have you got some support for yourselves in place now, and how did you actually find that support?
It was after when everything reopened, and I registered as a carer, and they sent me forms with some things going on, and one of them was Age UK. It was a meeting, and that was my beginning. I went to that meeting, and that was when I went and met Maura and Harry and other people, and I realised how lovely it was. It was brilliant for Mum, because Mum loved being out and about, social. It was the social bit, and there was some physical and some mental things. So it was really nice getting Mum out. That was and then that meeting eventually led to this meeting with the Royal Voluntary Service, because Maura told us, so it was like word of mouth, because you've become friends. We all became friends, and you share things, and suddenly I wasn't on my own, although I did have my family who helped, but suddenly it was, sharing, and Mum had people to share things with too, people to talk to, because you love sharing, don't you? And your custard creams.
She doesn't like sharing those.
She doesn't like sharing those. And that led, and also I met somebody in the meeting on Monday that led to Annick Garden. So we are very lucky. We go to a meeting with Age UK, meeting at Annick Garden. It's the elderberries. It's blooming well, which is we cooked on there. We made Easter cookies, which is they're very good there too. Mum just loves going out, and also Mum's a Methodist, and the first meeting was in the Methodist church, and I found out there was a very small Holy Communion service on Tuesday morning, and Mum, it's just perfect for Mum, rather than going to something she's lost in a big, and there's tea and chat after, which is what Mum loves as well. And then we usually go out for lunch, which another thing Mum loves. And wherever, we're usually at Marx's, and Mum will chat to everybody, and she gives the children some money if she meets them. So it's the social thing that's a big thing for Mum, being amongst people and talking to people. And that's what is so good for her.
So Doreen, can you tell me what everyday life is like for you at the minute?
What it's like? Well, I'm well looked after. I can't make sure that I take my tablets, and that I make sure that I get washed and cleaned and change my underwear. Things things that she just does normally, and that I might just forget.
Yeah.
So I never forget because she doesn't let me.
That's good, good. So you would say you're quite happy going along, yeah?
Yes, you are quite happy. I'll tell you what's interesting. I thought Mum doesn't remember anything that she's done, but you can see when she's been here, you can see she's elated because she's enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter that she doesn't remember. I mean, once she comes here, she knows that she's been here before, but it's the feelings, and that's what these groups just give, especially this one, because we get lunch as well, which is so nice for me, and not have to cook. You know, well, it is nice not have to think about things for a while, and it's a nice long one. I enjoy it today a lot.
Well,
My
I know who I am, and I know my name, and I know how old I am, and I know who looks after me, and I'm very, very grateful. I do tell her, but I don't like to embarrass her.
And do you remember who we live with, Mum?
Who we live with? Gary and Carol.
Oh, yeah, we're very lucky because I've got a support family, so if I need a break, which everyone does. So at the moment I don't need care, we don't need carers. We do know that because we've come to meetings, what would be the next step if we needed any more help. So you get information at these meetings about everything really, and
so just on,
do come and see us.
we do, yeah.
yeah, so just on that then, as a carer, what sort of tips could you offer to others in a similar situation?
I'd say if I were them, I'd get out to a meeting. They get friendship, which is wonderful. They get information, but they get stimulation, not just the person with dementia, but I get stimulation. Oh, we had drums the other week and that was amazing. I mean, it stimulated us all. You know, we you could hear us laughing. So it isn't just, I need it as well. I need the friendship and the laughter as well. And Mum gets it as well. So I'd say try a meeting. And they do work, and you get a lot of information, and you learn things that you need to know about what your rights are as a carer, and because people don't know that they've got rights as well. So it's there, and I think everyone would benefit from these meetings.
Remember to bring a cushion with these chairs.
It has got a soft cushion, Mum.
But when you sit on it,
So finally, can you tell me what you think has been the biggest help to you through the whole process?
I'd say the friendships, the people we meet, the people who volunteer here are so wonderful.
they're lovely and kind.
They are, aren't they, Mum?
Yeah.
I think the friendships are the...
And if they think you need something, they'll make sure that you get it.
Yes, yeah. I think that's been the very best. I mean, we've got information to get attendance allowance and things that you can get, but you could probably get that just from paperwork or a phone call. But to come here and meet people and have the friendships I think they last as well, because the meetings we go to, a lot of people who've lost their loved ones that they were caring for, which has happened quite a bit, still carry on going to the meetings because they miss the people, because they need it. And I think that's essential as well, that if you feel like you need to still come, you should be able to come. And people are welcome still to come.
The carers need as much help as the other people.
As the ones with dementia.
They need
Right?
supporting. Not necessarily you know, say, do this, do that. But whatever is to be done, they need support. And
we get it here, don't we?
yeah,
Lots of support, lots of help. And Mum loves taking home the books, you know, and doing them. And it's really good for her. And once she starts to colour in, when she's in a meeting, that's it, she's gone.
Oh, that's
It's just thoroughly lovely.
fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.